All right, Glenn, welcome back to the Shed, another instalment of Shed Talk tonight where we discuss 3 topics and we allocate 5 minutes to each topic. You got the 3 topics for tonight?
Yeah, so we're going to talk Olympics, we're going to talk Cashless Society, and we're going to talk smoking.
Smoking. Okay, excellent. All right, let's get on to our first topic. All right, Glenn, let's get into our first topic, which is the Olympics.
Olympics, yeah.
So I'm going to start the timer. Timer, 5 minutes is on now.
All right, what are your thoughts of Brisbane getting the Olympics awarded today, of all, like probably a couple of hours ago?
Yeah, very exciting news. Bit mixed on this one. I think it's a great thing for Brisbane because we saw off the back of Expo what, like a boost like that does to the city.
Yes.
But at the same time, I've just got some data out today which I thought was interesting. The government has said that the games will actually be cost neutral, i.e. the revenue generated. Okay, but here's the catch to that. It'll cost $8.6 billion to run the games, and they estimate there'll be about $8.6 billion in revenue.
Yes.
So that's cost neutral, right? If ticket sales and accommodate and everything else. Now, the kicker is, the government though, and it's split 50-50 between the federal government and the state government, will spend an extra $10 billion on infrastructure.
Yep.
Now, I don't know about you, but grade 2 math will tell you that that's actually an extra $10 billion. That's not cost neutral.
But I guess they had to build some of that infrastructure anyway. As the city grows and goes forward, we need the road upgrades. We're going to need better stadiums as, the population becomes bigger.
Sure.
So I know we're going to do it all up front, but I think the long-term value on that is very good. And coming out of COVID, I really think the economy boost for the next 10 years as a tradie, that's going to come into the market.
Yeah, and that's why I'm torn, because it's a lot of money, it's for one event, but I think Queensland's going to benefit. Let's hope that there's some events in our region, and because we've got some much needed infrastructure upgrades here. We obviously struggle with debilitating traffic almost on a daily basis. Yeah. So let's hope some of that $10 billion on the $8.6 billion goes not just into stadiums, but just goes into better public transport and infrastructure to allow us to get around our community. So it'll allow us to get to and from the games. But we'll also have a future benefit.
I think they said there's going to be 3 villages, one in Gold Coast, one in Sunshine Coast, and one in Brisbane. So I think it's going to be diverse across the region, and I think it's the first time the Olympics has actually done it to a region rather than just a city. So I think that's really good, not only for Brisbane but for southeast Queensland in a whole. Yeah,
it's just a shame that to get $10 billion invested in your city takes an Olympic Games. The government should be spending this money on a daily basis. That's why I said a bit mixed on the Olympics. I think it's great news. We're still going to be young enough that we can enjoy it. Our kids can potentially attend these things,
or potentially even compete in it.
Exactly.
So
I don't know. Maybe if computer gaming or something else gets up as an Olympic sport.
I think breakdancing has been put up. Maybe
there's a few skateboarding and the like. And
I think skateboarding's already in, Jace. I think that's already in this year in Tokyo. But I think it's exciting, and I think it's really good for Australian sport, and it's also good for the community. So win-win for everyone, really.
Well, it was a 1-horse race, so it'd be like going to the Melbourne Cup with one horse in the gates and backing it. So I think there was a little bit of the politics about an excitement about winning it. I think we were in the front running for quite a long time. So I don't think that little bit of let's wait for it wasn't quite like Sydney.
No,
where the
that's
IC,
right.
Actually, and another thing too that I just did note quickly before we run out of time. There were 77 votes cast to who have it, and actually 75 votes for Brisbane to host, and 2 against. How many Chinese IOC members do you think there are?
2.
No, there's 3.
Oh, well, good on you, Mr. 1. No, I think it's a good thing. I just hope it doesn't become a political thing, and obviously our like you said, our councillors and our federal Anastasia. I hope she doesn't get on the back of this and go, I protected you in COVID and I won this, and we all vote for her again, because I don't think my vote will be
it was interesting to see the government at the state government at the press conference today making the announcement over there. Look, it's fantastic to see all levels of government working here. So this bid was actually put together. I think it was 8 local council mayors who initiated this bid. And then, the state government's involved and the federal government's funding it 50-50. So it was funny to see, well, not funny, but to see our Premier saying, hey, listen, it's a great thing when you see all of these levels of government working together, what you can achieve. Just a shame they don't take that into, so many other issues that
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see where Anastasia goes and does her quarantine at the end of this, eh?
Yeah.
Keep an eye on it.
Well, that's actually an interesting point. I wonder how foreign it was for her to actually be able to go to another country and not have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
That's right.
But she'll have to do it coming home.
Well, yeah, let's keep an eye on where she does it, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in future shows.
Yes, okay, we'll try to stay off the COVID thing as much as possible, but I think you know where we were going with that one. So based on the time, we've got about 1 second left, and there's actually the timer
There's
right
the timer.
now. So that's the 5 minutes, that's the Olympics. Let's move on to the next topic. All right, Glenn, let's move on to topic number 2, cashless societies. You picked this topic, so how about you lead us off?
Yeah,
Time starts.
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because I know there's probably a lot of people that watch that will have an opinion on this and the twos and fros of a cashless society. Now, I have some issues with it, but then I also see the positives of it. So one of my issues is, how do you give your kids pocket money?
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Well, we had that actually as a situation in our house. We found a bank that allows them to have a debit card.
Yep.
So what we did, and because we just didn't want our kids to grow up thinking that like plastic is just this endless tap and supply.
Yeah.
Okay, the money's got to come from somewhere. So what we did is we got the pocket money, or when they collected money from birthdays or whatever. What we would do is we'd take that cash, and then they've got their own banking app with the bank that we went with.
Yep.
And we could see that if we had $10, we would put that into the account, and then they would see the $10 in their app. So they would understand that the money on the card is a cash value. So pocket money and things like that would end up on their card, I guess going to cashless, but they would, we focused on ensuring that they understood how the money gets to that card.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing, but I don't know, I think touching and feeling money, when you have to hand money over to pay for things rather than just a number in a piece of paper or an app, I think puts value to money. Where I think if we do it through cashless society, it's just numbers. You're just moving numbers around. I know what you're saying. Yeah, you get $10 for your birthday and we put it in the bank, but how did they get that $10? Was that done by a bank transfer from their grandparents? Was that done by a bank transfer from their, the birthday party that they had and your friends come over and deposited $10 into their bank account? Yeah. Is it going a bit far?
Well, I don't think so. But if I opened up my wallet now and I had a look in there, and this is totally unscripted, how many notes do I have in there?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing, right? And it's just cards. Reason for that is I don't use cash. I do all my transactions online.
Yeah.
But I use things like my Apple Pay, where I'm actually using a Face ID or biometrics as that second form of tap and go.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, for me, I don't carry cash. I like the convenience of having a card.
Yeah.
Because how many times I've lost cash, left it around. But I think that goes to another issue though, that you've got to be able to trust the financial institutions that are holding your money.
Yeah. Which
is the biggest risk of a cashless society. It's a database record in a system.
That's exactly right.
Okay? And as we've seen recently, when banks' ATMs go down, or their banking systems go down, and people can't access the money. So there's definitely pros and cons.
Yeah, and I don't know, Jace, does it then, if we go to a full cashless society, does it become like a Bitcoin?
I think there's a fundamental difference there. Bitcoin is basically an open market, this is my understanding. Chime in if you've got a better explanation, but it's basically where the record of those transactions are housed in multiple locations publicly versus in a private bank, right?
Okay.
And a cryptocurrency is people, a bit like we said, changing cash or transacting money into like a universal currency. So the system is built on trust of those transaction records being in multiple places. And a lot of institutions are actually looking at that as a model to protect that data.
And do you think with all the hacks that are going on around the world, JBS has been hacked, do you think banks will be next hacked to lose this data? So if you've got $100,000 in the bank, do you have it anymore? Then how do you prove you had it?
Well, that's the thing, right? How many people keep their bank transactions? You'd go to your phone for your latest balance, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has the printed statements unless you're getting them via email. But
what about if all that is gone?
Well, exactly, and that's the biggest risk. But I think that any financial institution is spending a lot of time and money protecting that data.
Yeah, well, you have to.
Yeah, because that's a critical system, right? And if that's gone, how do they protect? I mean, they'll have backups and redundant systems in multiple data centers and everything else to protect your money. But it's a really interesting thing, and I think what we've seen in recent events like COVID, places not taking cash.
Well, are they able to legally not take Australian tender?
Well,
Is that a rule?
No, I think as a business, as with anything, like a transaction's between two people. You know, if I want you to do something for me, you don't dictate to me the terms. If I don't like your terms, I can walk away. So I guess that's always been in a contractual or a transaction relationship.
Yeah.
You don't have to abide by their terms and conditions. If that business won't take your cash, well, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when they charge ridiculous, like 10% minimum purchase.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to spend $5 or you got to pay.
That's gouging.
Well, that's right. And then some are saying you got to spend $10. And if you go to the bakery and all you want is a loaf of bread, but their minimum charge is $10, all of a sudden I'm buying something I don't need.
Yep. And I've had it in a restaurant before where you go and pay for a meal, you pay for everyone's meals, etc. like that, and it comes out to $80. 5 minutes is up, but go to the bar and then they'll try and hit you with that. Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Cashless Society is an interesting one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, I'm totally against it.
Totally against it?
Yes.
Like, government can see what you're doing, mate. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Okay, so let's move on to our third topic now, smoking. Okay, 5 minutes starts now. Reason I wanted to talk about smoking is I've heard reports recently of some organisations wanting to ban smoking on balconies, either in hotels with balconies or in private residential complexes. Obviously, denser communities with balconies.
Yeah.
Someone smoking underneath the window, obviously smoke rises, and the people above obviously being impacted by that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's quite controversial. I mean, if you live in a building and you've lived there for 10 years and you've smoked out on the balcony and then a new rule comes in, how does that situate you in your own house? And where's your human rights and civil rights? It's not an illegal thing we're doing.
Currently, it's not. No.
That's right, and I don't think it ever will be an illegal thing because there's a lot of revenue made out of smoking.
Yeah, well, it goes back to, I guess, the comment we made in previous Shed Talks where we talked about governments and gambling or, being addicted to the revenue.
Yeah.
They obviously take a lot from cigarette tax. I'm against smoking personally.
Yeah, so am I. I don't smoke.
And Australian smoking is on the decline, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
So I think there will be a point in time, though, where from a health benefit versus cost and everything else, the governments have obviously tried to tax people out of smoking. But yeah, you're right. It is still legal, and it's a choice that people make.
Yeah, and I think if they make new rules around the choices that there was no rules around before, it's very hard for those people that do smoke to then fit in their own buildings.
Yeah, but you could say the same. I remember, Sizzler back in the day, the plastic plant used to divide the smoking, non-smoking.
Yeah.
On commercial flights, you used to have a smoking section on a plane and a non-smoking, which like today you say that, it sounds totally ridiculous. So to your point, I guess, they are laws that changed and impacted those smokers then. So is this just further tightening to protect those who don't smoke?
Yeah,
being exposed to that secondhand smoke.
I definitely think you have to be protected. Like I grew up in a house of smokers, so I passive smoked my whole entire life.
Yeah,
can't stand it now. Thank God, right? But I totally understand that side of the argument. But I think again, like I said, that's something I think that needs to be brought in over many, many years, and maybe apartment blocks need to be a non-smoking apartment block when they're built.
Yeah, and then people can choose maybe. And that's a difficult one on the balconies. The problem I have with smoking is, by no means are all smokers like this, but there's so many inconsiderate smokers. You go into the city, they stand at the front of shops when you're supposed to have a 5 metre from a non-residential entry. They stand there in groups smoking, stand under the no smoking signs at buildings, they ignore that. And one of my pet peeves is, you can almost predict it. Guy driving down the car, in the road, cigarette out the window in his hand, smoking. You just follow along long enough, and it's just flicked.
Yep.
Or they get out, when they're finished in the city, into the gutters. I mean, that's just littering.
Yeah.
So that's inconsiderate. That's one of the things I actually hate.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just do the right thing, and you've got to draw less attention to yourself, right?
Exactly. But is it police, Jace?
Of course not. No.
So
it's like with most things, mate. You just do what you like these days because there's no one to pull you up.
No, that's exactly right. And we put all these things in place, and these new rules are going to be brought in. And I think people at the end of the day just go, you know what, go and get stuffed.
Yeah.
And it's disheartening because the authorities are losing their power in that respect, and I don't think that they actually put themselves in that right situation, the smokers.
Yeah. But the other thing is too, I think, back to your point about smoking, will it ever be? I think it'll be phased out. Like, I think a great idea is I don't begrudge anyone who's grown up smoking and smokes now. I don't.
It was normal,
right?
Like cricketers were smoking at half time.
Both my parents did, reform smokers, etc., like that.
Yeah.
And it led to later health issues. But anyway, we won't go down that path. But one of the things that I'd like to see is like, let's pick a date, like today, right, or the end of this financial year, is a rolling date. So anyone born today or born at the end of this year, that's the smoking age that rolls out. So kids who are being born this year will never be able to buy a packet of cigarettes. But anyone who's smoking today, you know, that smoking age can roll on.
Continue.
And then, so it might be 18 now, next year, you know, the smoking age goes to 19, 20. And then as you do that, you'll end up with a whole generation that just won't have the choice. But that also provides some other challenges, particularly around international tourists or visitors where it's legal in their country.
Yes.
How could they come to our state? Or how, if Queensland goes alone versus New South Wales, is somebody from New South Wales expected to come to Queensland and not be able to smoke?
And I guess that opens up a big black market for tobacco as well. And there already is a black market in Queensland now. And I think someone recently just got busted with a whole heap of it. So that was selling what they call chop.
Right, okay.
So it's a cheaper form of cigarettes that people buy in 1 kilo lots.
Yep.
So I think if we did that, then that market, like marijuana and all the illicit drugs, it becomes a massive black market.
Yep.
Maybe if we have a cashless society, that black market mightn't be as easy to run.
Easier, but there's our 5 minutes on that one. And look, I'll just wrap that up by saying, look, maybe just through education and choice, smoking will just go the way of the dinosaur.
We can hope.
All right, so Glenn, that's our 3 topics with 5 minutes each on Shed Talk.
Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, give us all your comments. We want to hear your feedback. We want you guys to get involved with us. Please share our content. The more shares we get, the more we can do for the community through our Patreon and what we do online. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.